Funding for the art show was made possible by Montgomery County Arts and Cultural District, the Virginia W. Kettering Foundation, proud supporter of the arts in our community, and viewers like you. Thank you.
In this edition of the art show, this Dayton belly dancer is on a quest for respect. Kids and adults alike are fascinated by this Ohio museum. Stand face to face with American presidents of the past. Meet a true Renaissance man and all his creations. It's all ahead on this edition of The Art Show. Hello, I'm Rodney Veal, and welcome to The Art Show, where each week we showcase local, regional, and national artists and arts organizations. Our first artist of the night is Bronwyn. She's an award-winning professional belly dance performer, instructor, and choreographer in Dayton. It's easy to see her passion for dance and her deep desire for belly dance to be more widely accepted as the intricate art form it is.
Left, right, right, left, left.
You know, people do have a lot of interesting opinions of belly dance, but belly dancers train, drill, and work on technique just like anyone who's into any other dance form. Drills, practices, rehearses. We do take it seriously. It's a lot of fun, so it's a great blend of pursuing something seriously and having fun. When people actually take the time to watch, they see real dance. They see people with a lot of passion and a lot of soul really doing something they love and really moving beautifully. I started dancing when I was very young, and I started with ballet and tap and jazz, and eventually went into modern dance and decided to start experimenting around with other dance forms, and that led me to taking a Middle Eastern dance or belly dance class. There are a lot of different styles in Middle Eastern dance. There is Egyptian style and Turkish style and Greek style and Lebanese, just to name a few. The style I do is American cabaret style, and it is influenced by all of these styles, as well as Western styles like ballet and modern and jazz. There's also American tribal style that has a lot of different influences in it and is a little bit different. But you could see two cabaret dancers or two tribal dancers dance to the same song, and everyone's style is so different and so unique to them that it's amazing.
All the movements and the pirouettes.
Costuming is always important in dance, in my opinion. It does bring glamour and excitement to a performance. It makes it very interesting to watch. But it also does serve a purpose to show your body and highlight movements and add to things that you might be doing with your hips or your shoulders. I think it's very important, and I also think it's a very fun and creative part of the dance that any dancer loves. I certainly love it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3.
I feel like this dance form has presented so many different opportunities for me. I can teach, I can be a musician, I can be an actress, I can be it all with belly dance. I really feel like it gives me such a forum to do all sorts of different things and be very creative. So all the things I like to do kind of get incorporated with this particular dance form. The biggest challenge in Middle Eastern dance is staying educated about the dance and still pushing it into the mainstream and getting people to see it, understand it, and also just accepting it for what it is and not being upset when people don't understand what you're doing. Just doing it, loving it, and enjoying yourself, because ultimately that's what it should all be about. having fun while still pursuing it seriously. I think there can be a lack of respect when people don't know or understand where it's coming from. There's so much that goes into it artistically, and we have technique and history that comes into it. All dance, you're going to be using your body. There's going to be some sexuality in movement. Belly dance is certainly a sensual dance form, but it's a dance form like any other. You're going to be moving, and really, as we said, it empowers women so much. It's really amazing how many women are in the audience. Everything I do, anyone in the family could come and do. I've had children in my classes and people of all ages, literally all ages, doing this. So it's for everyone. My students are definitely my biggest source of inspiration. Some of them are just amazing born dancers, and so many of them do find themselves in this dance. And even those who just kind of do it as a hobby or just maybe pass through it, they just find something that speaks to them that they can really use in their daily life. And a lot of them really kind of unleash an entire world of creativity and passion, and it really keeps me going. I am so amazed at some of the women that I get to meet through this dance form. Such an amazing art form, but it is very informed by music choice and also your costume choice and your personal history, what you bring to it as far as your dance background. It's so many different things, and it's really nice because it makes every dancer their own individual artist that makes their own statement. And you can still be putting out those statements that are true to belly dance, but bringing something that's uniquely yours to a performance.
Interested in taking a class with Bronwyn? She teaches several each week around Dayton. Visit thinktv.org and click on the art show for details. Nestled in historic downtown Worthington is the Doll Museum at the Old Rectory. It features an impressive collection of 19th and 20th century dolls. From the molded unglazed china dolls made from Parian marble and portrait dolls modeled after European monarchs to the French fashion models boasting wigs made of real hair. This charming little museum is one of Central Ohio's hidden treasures.
Well, it's a wonderful collection of 19th century dolls and has some very unusual dolls that can't be seen in many other places at all. And together, it's a nice little jewel. We get all kinds of cheers from doll collectors, but we get a lot of oohs and ahs from kindergartners too. Well, the earliest ones are the ones that were made of wood in Germany. The Germans were the toy makers for the Western world initially, so we have some very early small ones that we call penny woodens or peg woodens, and we have some portrait dolls, some china dolls, some Parian china dolls. The French fashions are probably the elite of this group, and then we have some American dolls that were made by Isana Walker and Joel Ellis, people that are big names in American doll making early on. A portrait doll is a doll that is made in the image of a real person. So for all the kids who come here and have American Girl dolls, there are wonderful stories about these dolls, but they weren't real people. The dolls over there include the Empress Eugenie, who was married to Napoleon III, the Kaiserin Augusta von Weimar, the Empress of Germany, and there's Countess Dagmar, whom we associate with the Tsar of Russia. And there's Alice in Wonderland, too, who, even though she's a literary character, reflects a real person's life. So those are the ones we typically have the kids looking for. The Alice kind of shocks them because she doesn't look like Disney's Alice. A Parian doll refers to the Parian marbles that were being used for sculpture at that time. And so they will have pierced ears, sometimes they'll have an embellishment. They were fired twice and therefore much more expensive than the China dolls that have the very shiny faces. We have a wishbone doll, and the wishbone doll is the earliest Worthington doll that we have, and it was made on a turkey wishbone. So it was found floating in the mud of the cellar of the Orange Johnson house at the time that the society was going to restore the house. These are the French fashion dolls, and they are the fanciest ladies on the block. These dolls had every stitch of clothing that a lady of fashion would want to be wearing in Paris. This is the lady's toiletry case, and so it's made out of leatherette with little mother-of-pearl decorations, and inside is all the items that might be needed if you're going traveling. Your perfume bottles, your bath sponge. Kids always like to know that this is a 140-year-old bar of soap. And here we have the brushes, which includes her lice comb, which every lady would be needing in that time period. And the fun thing is to look at the label on the back and notice that it's from the toy store Au Nain Bleu, which is still in existence in Paris today. The Izana Walker is the treat and the treasure of the Doll Museum. She is a beautiful doll. She was made by a lady doll maker named Izana Walker, and she made these cloth dolls that she fashioned herself, and her sister hand painted them. So everything about the doll is original, from her dress to her little red shoes and all the things she wears underneath. The Izana Walker dolls are very treasured among American doll collectors. And she's very sweet. Her name is Thankful, and it's just a wonderful name for this beautiful little doll. We sometimes have doll houses. We have a huge dollhouse collection. We also have any number of other exhibitions that are sometimes borrowed from other collectors in the area, and in this case, ones that are from our collection with a collector's dolls are being displayed. And it kind of allows us to look at one facet at a time. Occasionally someone will call us and they'll have a treasured item that they would like to see preserved and shared. And so if it fits in our collection, which does go into the 20th century now, but if it fits in our collection, then it comes and it's on permanent vacation here.
There's more to see at the Worthington Historical Society than just the Doll Museum. There's the Orange Johnson House and the Jeffers Mound among shopping at the Old Rectory. Click on the art show at thinktv.org for more information.
Yes, my love, I have seen the darkness. Yes, my love, I have danced with death. You pulled me right back from the abyss, and you prayed there was something left. Yes, my love, we don't all get redemption. Yes, my love, we don't all walk in light. Not all of us see heaven.
We want to introduce as many local artists to the community as we can. So email us a short video like the one you just saw, and maybe we'll give you a quick shout out. It doesn't have to be professional. Shoot it on your iPhone if you want. Just show us your studio and some examples of your work. Now, they say everything's bigger in Texas, but after visiting Mount Rushmore, a Houston artist decided that the monument was too big to be observed up close. So he made his own, only slightly smaller sets of presidential busts. Take a look.
Bill Clinton, that's Andrew Jackson. He had all that lovely hair. You can't tell whose body that is. They all look alike. Lincoln, Obama's body is somewhere around here. There's Van Buren. There's Taft. Can't miss him. My name is David Addix. I'm a sculptor and a painter. That's Calvin Coolidge, who was president when I was born. And there aren't many people that can say that now. There's Hoover, who was president when I grew up. So I went to Canada to visit friends, and on the way back I drove through Mount Rushmore and saw that for the first time and was really overwhelmed by the majesty of it, the size of it. But the problem was I couldn't get close to it. You have to look at them through binoculars, you know, they're far away, to see that expression in their eyes, and I missed that part. So when I was driving back to Texas, the idea popped into my small brain, wouldn't it be a great idea to do the presidents big, but not that big? So I thought, I can't do just the 4, I'll do all of them. So there were 42 at the time, and that's how this came to be. One of these would be Jefferson, the other would be Washington, because that was the style. All those bearded guys were from Ohio, and it was kind of one after the other, and they all looked alike. And I have a hard time remembering myself. This, I remember, is Teddy Roosevelt by the tie. He liked that design, but his head is around the corner. Start with a life-size model in clay, and draw a line parallel to the floor every ½ inch. And then you, with a little contour device, you get those shapes. Then when you have all those, you convert that to acetate or film, put them on an overhead projector and project those on styrofoam. And the styrofoam is then cut out and stacked up. And the analogy is kind of like if you took a green pepper and cut it up for a salad and enlarged every piece times 10, put it back together, you'd have that exact shape times 10. So you finish it off in plaster and clay and then make a giant rubber mold of the whole head. Concrete is washed into those 5 layers with various reinforcement in the concrete, fiberglass mesh and steel mesh. Then those 2 halves are put together, and one of my guys crawls inside and welds them together, and then that makes the head. All the heads are not the same size. 8 of them are 20% bigger than the rest because Arthur Schlesinger years ago decided to try to get all the presidents evaluated in the opinion of the heads of history departments in major universities around the country. So when that consensus came in, there were 8 of them that were called the great presidents. So I decided to make them bigger. My favorite would be Lincoln. Because he was easy to do. There were so many great photographs of him, and his features are, you can't confuse him with anybody else. The hardest to do, sort of, was Ford, because he doesn't have features that jump out at you. The Beatles, why are they here? They're here quite coincidentally. They have nothing to do with the president's head. Well, I wanted to do standing figures that have no arms, but their instruments are part of the composition. I love the Beatles, everybody does, so the Beatles were a natural choice. Ringo's going to play drums on Roosevelt's head. Now that's not right either. Big monumental pieces, they have to be at a place where they can be seen. Here's Teddy Roosevelt, there's George W., and here's LBJ, and that's Chester Arthur with all that sideburn stuff. It's a crazy idea, but I have crazy ideas. Here's Jefferson, and there's Nixon, Madison, James Madison, Harry Truman. It's a curse.
We receive quite a few emails each week, so keep contacting us with your story ideas. Let us know what sets you apart from other artists. Send an email to theartshow@thinktv.org. Include contact information and links to performances or art samples online. In this final segment, we meet Wisconsin artist and Renaissance man Bill Reed, whose metal creatures are anything but stiff. They move, some even fly. All are testament to Reed's artistic talent and innovative mind.
When you think about it, I'm wearing sunglasses, I'm in the dark, and I'm looking at this little flame. It's like being a detective. You keep the heat on till the steel talks, you know. It starts telling you stuff and you listen, and it takes a lot of patience because they take a lot of time to make. And just making up your own world. I think everybody wants to make up their own world. My name's Bill Reed. I'm a sculptor. I live in Racine. I make things out of steel in general. I do painting too, and I usually paint the steel. And I like stories. I like making things. I really like that idea. So I actually did a little aluminum casting at the beginning and got into that whole type of thing. And then I went back to welding, like arc welding, big wire structures and big things. And for actually about 30 years now, I've been making things out of sheet metal with wire cages, animals, and story-related things. I like that because you can do mechanical things with them. They can be really light, but they're really strong, and it gives me lots of opportunities. I think the story thing gives it an extra dimension of just being a sculpture. They often start with a pun, or it's usually just a sketch, but it's often based on words. I think the English language is so wacky, because how can pie be something good to eat and also this really cool number? And then there's pie rats too, making this honey badger in like a forest of pies, pie rats, and all sorts of goofy stuff. But usually if I'm starting a beast, I'll start with the trunk, the middle part, and build out. I'll build that, then do the head, then do the legs, usually put nice shoes on them, then do the arms, kind of build out from the center out, because that body just determines how big the whole thing's going to be. I might want to just start with an idea that I want to make a mechanical thing. I'll just make a little vehicle thing with the movement and then figure out what kind of creature to put on it. It's fun to do different stuff, I guess. I don't want to do the same thing over and over. I'm basically working with wire, really thin, like 1/8 inch usually, and sheet steel, 24 gauge steel. And I usually make a wire structure, usually with a silhouette. Like if I'm doing a fish, I'll do the silhouette of the fishy and then fill it in with the wire and then lay it on the sheet steel, draw the patterns, cut it out. And I use an oxyacetylene torch. It's seriously hot, but it's a really tiny little flame. And the nice thing is it's just steel to steel. I don't need flux or anything. It's just steel, and the steel wants to melt together. Steel is very friendly. When they're ready to paint, what I'll do is I'll run the torch over it and knock off any scale. And then I bang it actually to really knock off anything else that's loose. And then I put a good primer on it to protect it from rusting. And then I actually use like hardware store water-based enamel paints. And they're nice, they don't have fumes, and you can really play with them almost like watercolor. You can do lots of layers. Kids ask me how many I've done. I must have done at least 4,000 sculptures, you know, because I've been doing over 100 a year for 35 years or something. It adds up. The last year or so, I've been doing bunions and Hawaiians. If you had an onion suit on, you'd be crying, right? So these are Hawaiian onions dressed up in bunnies or looking like bunnies and selling their tears on the street or carving up rainbows or, you know, trying to make a living somehow or another. So that's one of my favorite things of the last year. I did a big owl, like a really 6-foot tall owl. He's got a big flamingo flying over the top of his head, and there's a crank, and the flamingo's wings go up and down. Also, I did another one with owls again, a little one, and it's 3 owls like they're migrating. So you turn the crank, and they're all going through, but their wings flap up and down. The B-Bomb was the most ambitious thing. The car is a legit road car. It was built on a 1988 Ford Escort, and it doesn't look anything like it, but it is certified to drive. That was probably my most ambitious project ever, just because I didn't mess anything up mechanically with it. The pedal cars are fun because they're bicycles. I love bicycles. They're simple, they're easy to fix, and they're fairly efficient. The first one I made, the Reedster, we actually made the frame. I had help from an engineer friend, but we made it from the frame up, total, even the frames made by hand and the kingpins and all that. And they used wheelbarrow tires. And I made it's a little anteater, and it goes along really nice. And then there's Moby, like a Moby Dick, the great white whale. Just trying to scare you. I like do something different. And there's something really goofy when you see these things moving through space instead of just another static sculpture or monument. To see them moving through the sky, through the air, is really, it's just a whole nother dimension to me. I think it's funny. I get a lot of, you must have a lot of time on your hands, but many people I think they get a smile out of them. It's kind of a different language. I try to learn from the things, what I think works in my mind. And the idea of finding things, a new story, new character, just, I mean, it's great to be alive and doing stuff fun like this, and I'm lucky.
Learn more about Bill Reed at thinktv.org. Just click on the Art Show. And that wraps it up for this edition of the Art Show. Until next time, I'm Rodney Veal, and thanks for watching.
Funding for the Art Show was made possible by Montgomery County Arts and Cultural District, the Virginia W. Kettering Foundation, proud supporter of the arts in our community, Ohio Arts Council, Ohio Humanities Council, and viewers like you. Thank you.